Public who are joining our March 3rd Policy and Bylaw Standing Committee. Thank you very much for your patience as we work through some technological challenges. The meeting is called to order. We have received regrets from Committee Chair Michael Chen and Trustee Robert Kolosowski. As the Committee Chair is not present today, as such, Trustee Mahmood has agreed to serve as Chair of today's meeting for the remainder of the meeting. Without objection, Trustee Mahmood shall serve as Chair for the remainder of today's meeting. Is there any objection? Seeing none, since there's no objection, Trustee Mahmood shall serve as Chair. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director. It's an honor for me to chair the meeting today. And as the next step is the land acknowledgement, I'll request Trustee Butterworth to lead the land acknowledgement for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. We affirm that we are all treaty people and acknowledge that the York Region District School Board is located on the lands of 2 treaties. These treaties have been signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the First Nations of the Williams Treaties, who are the Mississaugas of Alderville, Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Scugog Island, and the Chippewas of Beausoleil, Rama, and Georgina Island, who is our closest neighbor and partner in education. To honor this agreement, we will take up our responsibility to be respectful of their traditions, knowledge, and inherent rights as sovereign nations. We will respect the relationship with these lands and recognize that our connection to this land is through the continued relationship with these First Nations. And we acknowledge our shared responsibility to respect and care for the land and waters for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Butterworth. Next is an approval of agenda. Without objection, the agenda as presented shall be adopted. Is there any objection, trustees? Not seeing or hearing anything, agenda is adopted as presented. Declaration of conflict of interest. At this time, the chair would like to ask any trustees who has direct personal interest or direct or indirect pecuniary interest in any matters being discussed by the board during this meeting to state the conflict and their nature thereof. Again, not hearing or seeing anybody. We'll move on to approval of minutes of previous meeting. We have our previous meeting on February 3rd, 2026. The minutes of this meeting from February 3rd have been shared and distributed to all trustees. Trustees, are there any corrections to the minutes which were shared? Seems there is none. As there are no corrections to the minutes are approved as presented and shared previously. The next is Director's remarks. Can I request Mr. Director to provide your remarks, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much for stepping forward and chairing today's meeting for all of us. Today, staff have policies for annual review, Policy 250, Violence Prevention and Intervention and Non-Code Workplace-Related Harassment, and Policy 540, our Health and Safety Employees and Procedure attached for review for committee, and we look forward to the dialogue. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Director, for your insight into the policies being discussed today. Next on the agenda is the delegation. So there are no community delegations before the committee for today's meeting. We will move on to the business policies for annual review. Trustees, on pages 7 to 27, we are going to discuss policy 250, which is violence prevention and intervention and non-code workplace-related harassment, employees and workers. The chair recognizes Trustee Services and Policy Officer Daniel Roberto to share the policy for annual review.
Thank you, and through the chair, good afternoon, trustees. Today we have Coordinating Superintendent of Education, Human Resource Services, People and Culture, Steve Gardner, and Senior Manager, Human Resource Services, Rosemary Cameron and Teresa Striga, and Health and Safety Manager Renate Casco to share updates to policy number 250, violence prevention and intervention, and non-code workplace-related harassment, employees, workers. This policy was last reviewed in 2025 and is now due for annual review. This policy was developed in accordance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act, Employment Standards Act, the Ontario Human Rights Code, and other related legislation and regulations. This policy supports the board's commitment to address incidents of workplace harassment and workplace violence. It reflects the district action plan and focuses on mental health and well-being. The policy title was revised to include the term workers, and references to staff members in the policy and procedures were changed to workers, which aligns with how employees are referred to in the Occupational Health and Safety Act. Revisions were made to terminology that align with OSHA, for example, the use of the supervisor term. As you can see, additional new definitions of risk assessment and risk reassessment were also included. Some of these revisions were incorporated based on feedback from individuals and groups. In terms of next steps, if approved by the committee this evening, the policy will be forwarded to the April 7th, 2026 board meeting for final approval. And I'll now turn it over to Steve for any additional comments. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you, Daniel, for that. And through you, Chair Mahmood, I would like to invite to the podium just our subject matter experts to be able to provide an overview, just a bit of a continuance from what was shared with Daniel, high-level overview of Policy 250. And with that, our Manager of Health and Safety, Renate Casco, and supporting will be Matthew Chan, who is our Health and Safety Officer. With health and safety as well. And then Rosemary Cameron certainly will be able to step in with questions as well. We welcome any questions.
Thank you for providing this information, members. The chair would like to remind everyone that questions must be germane to the policy. And at this time, if you have any questions, Anna Staub wanted to present something.
No, Daniel did a great job at presenting the updates, so it's questions I'm here to answer.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Cohen, please. Trustee Cohen?
Oh. Thank you very much, Chair. I have a few questions. Would you like me to ask them one at a time, or let someone else ask a question and come back to mine? It's up to you.
Let's start with one for now, and then we'll come back, right? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much. So the first one is more about wording that has been used in a few different places, and I wonder why we've changed the wording. So I'm just going to read, if you don't mind, and maybe that will help. So on page 12, 3.4, it says superintendents, principals, vice principals, managers, and supervisors are responsible for encouraging reporting of incidents of workplace violence and non-code workplace harassment. So we've used the word encouraging the reporting of incidents, which I thought was much lighter word than later on. We've used the word on page 16, 2.2 and 2.2.1. It says reporting and investigating incidents of workplace violence by a worker against another worker. A, all incidents of workplace violence by a worker against another worker must immediately be reported to the supervisor, and the supervisor must notify the superintendent. So I'm just wondering about the word encouraging reporting of an incident. in 3.4 on page 12. I think that's F, 3.F. Thank you, that's my first question.
Thank you, Trustee Cohen. Can we have staff to respond to that?
I think what I would say about that is for workers, there is the requirement that they report it to their supervisors under the Occupational Health and Safety Act. I think when we use the word encouraging, it's through our training that we draw attention to our policies and procedures to ensure that workers are familiar with it so that they're reporting it. So I believe that's why we've used encouraging in that particular section.
Trustee Cohen, any follow-up?
Okay. Well, I just think it's a light word. That's all. Yeah, I don't know if the word light is appropriate, but I think you know what I mean. It sounds very casual as opposed to something that I would hope that reporting incidents in the workplace of violence should be, not should encourage to be. So I don't know, just something I wonder if you could consider.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cohen. Next is Trustee Butterworth, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm referring to page 12 as well. And just a second. And it's actually under the definition in part 4B, where we talk about secondary students who perform work and so on. And it says, and I mean, I understand that part, but it says about the work experience by the school board that operates in the school. I'm thinking about students who are, say, in co-ops who are outside of school. I kind of read the workplace definition too, but I just wanted to make sure that, does this also cover students who are in co-ops, which would be, in a sense, a work experience program, who are working outside of the school for that? Would this policy apply to them? Thank you.
Staff, please.
Yes, so when we have co-op students working for York Region District School Board, we would treat them as employees of YRDSB, and the same expectation would apply when co-op students are out at another employer. That employer would then become their employer.
So then they would fall under their workplace policy in terms of safety and whatever.
Typically correct, unless there was some other agreement
Okay.
for that arrangement.
When I read it, I just thought, I wonder what happens for those who are outside of, they're not necessarily within our school.
I'm not just, Fanny, did you want to add something? Or no? Okay.
That's all? Good.
I do have more, but...
We'll add you back in there. Thank you very much, Trustee Butterworth. Trustee Sinclair next, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have to go back to Estelle, Trustee Cohen's first question. The answer that was given was not appropriate. It was inappropriate because it didn't answer anything for me. And because either you should do it or we're encouraging you to do it. And we have to make up our mind. And I think we either say what we want to say or we don't say it. So something is not quite right. For me, what's the context of the first, where we should encourage them? What's the context of the other, in the other pages where they must? There's two different things here. So why are we playing around with it?
Thank you.
I need some deeper understanding.
Thank you, Trustee Sinclair. I'll request Mr. Director to chime in, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Dr. Sinclair. Thank you, Dr. Sinclair. And Trustee Cohen, I'll address both of you in this particular comment. We have captured the feedback for staff's consideration in the policy and think the feedback that Trustee Cohen is very valuable going forward for our inclusion in the policy. Dr. Sinclair, through to you on this particular discussion, we just didn't get into the wordsmithing right then and there in the moment in the feedback of Trustee Cohen's, but we've captured the feedback, and we absolutely do believe it is mandatory to be reporting all incidents, and the language will be where Manager Casco was reporting, staff are encouraged, is because we wanted to make sure in the past that folks knew about those reporting opportunities. And we do cover this off in our health and safety compliance days. And I can assure you that we'll be taking the feedback and including that. Thank you, Dr. Sinclair.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Dr. Sinclair, is that the satisfactory answer, I believe, right? So as staff...
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Next is Trustee Cohen, your second question or second turn, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Okay, this one is 3.5A. It says, I think it's also page 12, all workers are responsible for complying with investigative requirements in accordance with the Violence Prevention and Intervention and Non-Code Workplace-Related Harassment. So my question is, does this include witnesses? So in other words, I've worked in situations where sometimes a witness does not want to be a witness. They refuse to be a witness, to get involved. Are they obligated to be interviewed by an investigator? They have to be investigated. They have to cooperate, or what if they don't? Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cohen. Would like to take it?
Yeah, I certainly can take that, and I would invite our Senior Manager, Rosemary Cameron, to add anything else that I might have not included. So in terms of the question, Trustee Cohen, so yes, witnesses, as a board employee, the expectation is that you would in fact be compelled, if you are named as witness, to be part of that investigation to your question. You know, your question around if they don't, you know, there's one that suggests that it would be an ongoing conversation, that it's part of, as an employee, and it's an active investigation. It is our expectation that you do participate in that. In that investigation. We have, you know, as depending on the employee group, you know, when we look in terms of our unions, there's unions representation by way of support in those conversations as well.
Trustee Cohen, any follow-up?
Thank you so much. I'm just wondering, what if there's a fear of retaliation? How do we support the worker in that situation?
Thank you for that question, and through you, Chair Mahmood. So without citing the actual number, and I can look for that, there's language in there around reprisal. And the language in the reprisal states that, again, it's the responsibility in order to report, and it's with the understanding that any reportings is without reprisal, and there is there are consequences, if you will, for that. So it's an expectation that that does not happen, but there's a section within it, and Rosemary at the podium might be able to have pulled that up right now, I'm not sure. But we speak to reprisal specifically in there. Trustee Cohen.
Yeah, Trustee Cohen. So we do have a definition and the actual policy around reprisal, and it was taken from the Occupational Health and Safety Act. And so this is, I would say, a safeguard that we put in place so employees know that we do have this in the actual policy to safeguard them from any sort of a retaliation or reprisal if that happens.
If I could add that section, I'm looking just right now to direct you to section 4.10 under reprisal. No employer or person acting on behalf of an employer shall dismiss or threaten or dismiss a worker, discipline or suspend, threaten to discipline or suspend a worker. And again, to Rosemary's point, because the worker has acted in compliance with this act or the regulations or an order made thereof, has sought the enforcement of an act, so it's governed within certainly statute and regulations as well.
Thank you so much. That's great. Thank you.
Any other question you have, Trustee Cohen, you can go ahead and ask. Or you're done with this? You have it? Okay, go ahead. I can't hear you. I think you muted yourself.
Thank you so much, Chair. I do have another question.
Please go ahead.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so this one, okay, this is 4.94.6, and it says workplace sexual harassment means unnecessary physical contact, including inappropriate touching. So I'm wondering now where we're at with, please explain the difference between appropriate touching and inappropriate touching. Thank you.
Stuff. Anybody wants to take it on?
Yeah, I think we'd have to take that away to answer.
I certainly could. Let me just, through you, Chair Mahmood, let me just locate it on my sheet so I have point of reference. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Can we say we'll take that away? Sorry, which one?
Is she talking about this one?
Sorry, was it E?
F,
F?
page 14.
So those were from the riots, or, I think we'll need to take that away because that was from the
survey,
riots
yeah.
audit. It's not specific language from the act.
Sorry, I don't have the page, I just have the number, 4.94.6 F, F like Frank. 4.94.6 F.
And if I, through you, Chair Mahmood, if I can add a thought to it, and certainly my colleagues can build on that by way of supporting. So when we talk in terms of difference, Trustee Cohen, around inappropriate and appropriate touching, would suggest a handshake, fist pump being a appropriate touching, just in terms of social situations that would be acceptable, versus other unwanted touching on body certainly would be not acceptable. So I'm trying to discern between the two. If the question was in fact what would we define as an appropriate contact, if you will, certainly would suggest the two examples I provided. Hope that helps.
Trustee Cohen, follow up?
Well, no, I understand. I think that's a very good example. But if someone touches someone on their shoulder, is that something that could lead to a complaint?
Thank you for the question. And through you, Chair, I'd say context certainly matters as well. A tap on the shoulder in terms of acknowledging someone versus, an unwanted one and an unwanted one. And I think it's often in the eye of the receiver as well, but in terms of the intention of the person with that tap. So I don't have a hard and yes, no. I think it's context matters resolved, or in some situations, it's certainly where it may be unwanted and may be part of a conversation sharing that it is unwanted. So as vague as that might be, I hope that answers your question, because it's difficult, as I said, to without naming that a specific situation.
Thank you.
I
understand that there's no specific answer to that one. Just curious. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Cohen, we have a number of people who will add on to that comment, right? So I'll request our counsel to please chime in, please.
Thank you, Trustee Cohen, and through you, Chair. The workplace sexual harassment definition in the Occupational Health and Safety Act defines sexual harassment as conduct that is known or ought to have known to be unwelcome. That is the framework for the analysis that my colleague, Superintendent Gardner, has referred to. That's the framework that the board would be using. And we would take the feedback you've given and consider working in the OSHA definition into the policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to chime in? Thank you very much. Thank you. Trustee Cohen, we're good?
We're good with that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Sinclair.
Thank you. The council just more or less answered my question, because I was just going to ask the same thing. We should have some kind of definition in our policies somewhere. And so it obviously we have it there. So thank you for that information. Would it be possible, just as a thing, to put some kind of examples of what it might or might not look like, sound like, or feel like in it, so people have a clearer, a better understanding?
Thank you, and through you, Chair, it is common in such policies for examples to be used in the definition of harassment, and so that will be taken under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Sinclair, are you okay?
I'm fine.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions any trustees have? Trustee Cohen. One last one.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Okay. I was just going to mention on that one, should know, what is it exactly? I forget. Should have known or should know what's appropriate. I think the problem is we're very culturally different in what we think is okay and not okay in touching, hugging, you know, etc. So I think should have known sometimes doesn't work. As Elizabeth mentioned, Dr. Sinclair mentioned, you know, maybe being more specific or examples would help with cultures that may not all agree what is okay or isn't okay. And I have another one that's, if you have time, if it's possible.
Yeah, we have time. We need to understand it. I mean, if you've done homework and you have questions, let's get it done. Yeah, please.
Okay, thank you. So this one is, I'm just wondering about this word timely manner. So the director and, sorry, the Director of Education, Associate Director, and/or the coordinating superintendent's principals manager shall investigate and respond to incidents of non-code workplace-related harassment in a fair and timely manner. I'm wondering if we could have a little bit more feedback for the word fair and the word timely. What would not be fair and what would not be timely? Because timely is a very vague word for me. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee Cohen. Staff.
So that language came from Ministry of Labor supporting documentation that we use for the development of this policy. Within the procedure itself, though, it defines what that fair and timely investigation is for workplace harassment, and that's typically within the, Rosemary can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's typically within the 90 days.
Yes, so normally we use the 90 days. That's in the Occupational Safety Act. We try to meet that requirement or earlier if we can, or sometimes we have unforeseen circumstances that might negate that the investigation go a bit longer, so that we have to take into consideration at times as well.
Thank you. Trustee Cohen, any follow-up on that? You're muted.
I'm just wondering if we could actually put 90 days, approximately 90 days, so that it's not quite as vague, but just a thought.
Trustee Curran, so one of the things that we have done in terms of the non-code related harassment policy, we have created a flow chart, and on the flow chart itself that we use to for training and to provide an overview of the actual process, we do have that on the flow chart. Just want to let you know in terms of our procedures.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. Sorry for all the questions, but I really appreciate the understanding I'm gaining. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Cohen, for all those questions. We appreciate that as well. Thank you. Any other trustees who have a question on this policy? Not seeing anyone else. So without objection, the recommended motion shall be adopted, that in accordance with the Board Policy 285, Board Policies, Procedure and Supporting Documents, Policy 250, Violence Prevention and Intervention and Non-Code Workplace-Related Harassment, employees, workers will be forwarded to the April 7th board meeting for final approval. And I would add that as a note that the suggestion which has come across, they may change language a little bit, but then that's how it will be forwarded to that. Any objection on that motion? Not seeing anyone. Without objection, the aforementioned motion is adopted. Thank you very much, staff. Okay, next is that on the agenda is Policy 540, Health and Safety, Employees and Workers. Pages 29 to 38, trustees, that's on your agenda. The chair recognizes Trustee Services and Policy Officer Daniel Roberto to share the next policy for annual review, Policy 540. Daniel, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, we're continuing with Coordinating Superintendent of Education, Human Resource Services, People and Culture, Steve Gardner, Senior Manager, Human Resource Services, Rosemary Cameron and Teresa Striga, Health and Safety Manager, Renate Casco, and Health and Safety Officer, Matthew Chan, to share updates to policy number 540, Health and Safety Employees, Workers. This policy was last reviewed in 2025 and is now due for annual review. This policy is developed in accordance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act and supports the board's commitment to providing and maintaining a safe and healthy working environment that supports the well-being of employees. As you can see, the policy title was revised to include the term workers, which aligns with the Occupational Health and Safety Act. The reference to the respective regulation regarding the critical injury definition was revised in section 4.1. Some of these revisions were incorporated based on feedback from individuals and groups. If approved by the committee this evening, the policy will be forwarded to the April 7th, 2026 board meeting for final approval, and I'll turn it over to Steve for any additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel, and through you, Chair Mahmood. Yeah, no additional comments to that. As always, do a wonderful job in terms of sharing those changes, but Renate Casco and myself welcome any questions trustees might have. Thank you.
Trustee Butterworth.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Two questions. I think I can put them together. So I'm actually looking at the definitions. One on page 32 under critical injury. I'm curious about, say, something like a concussion that staff can get. I've known staff members to get concussions in schoolyards and been off for a significant amount of time. Is there a reason why that isn't considered a critical injury, especially if there is, head trauma, they're off for a significant amount of time? And then I'll put my second one in. And also, the section on hazards was removed, or hazard, pardon me, 4.3. And I'm curious as to why. And is it somewhere else? I didn't see it somewhere else, but why was it removed, and how are we acknowledging that? Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Berworth. Staff, please.
Okay. Thank you for those questions. So the critical injury definition is defined in a regulation that we reference, and it does not list concussions. However, if there was loss of consciousness, then we would report as a critical injury. So it has to meet one of these criteria in order for reporting to the Ministry of Labor. It's not that we wouldn't, if there was an injury, it's not that we wouldn't investigate it. The staff member would still report it. It would still be investigated by the supervisor. It's just that if it didn't meet the definition of critical, we wouldn't report it to the Ministry of Labor.
Do you follow? No. Good. And the second part of the question.
Yeah, and sorry, we should have provided that in our update too around hazard. So the recommendation that we received was that it should be removed because hazard is not actually defined in the Occupational Health and Safety Act. So what we had provided previously, we had combined from outside sources and provided examples, but because it's not a statutory definition, we removed it.
Sure. Follow up, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. So then if there is sort of a safety issue with one of, let's say, these hazards, then how does our policy cover that?
So we talk about concern reporting, health and safety concern reporting, which would include contraventions of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. It would include hazards. And then within our procedure, we define how that happens, where the worker will report to the supervisor, and then the supervisor will investigate and take the appropriate corrective actions. So we do define that in a staged approach in the procedure.
Okay, so in a one-word answer, it's covered.
It's covered,
Okay,
yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sorry, I was long-winded.
Thank you. Any other trustees online? Trustee Cohen, you have any questions? No? Not this time. Good. I don't see any other questions on this from anyone. Thank you for providing the information. So without objection, if there are no other questions, the recommended motion shall be adopted. That in accordance with the policy 2850, the board policy procedure and supporting documents, policy 540, health and safety employees or workers will be forwarded to the April 7th board meeting for final approval. Any objections? Seeing none, without objection, the aforementioned motion is adopted. Okay, the next on agenda is our informational item. Before the committee is the draft policy review scheduled for remainder of 2026. The chair recognizes Trustee Services and Policy Officer Daniel Roberta to present an overview of the updates made to the policy schedule and then answer any questions trustees may have. Daniel, please.
Thank you. And through the chair, this is the 2026 draft policy review schedule, and happy to answer any questions that the committee may have. Thank you.
Trustees, do we have any questions, comments on the proposed schedule. We can see that on April 7th, there are 4 policies are going to be under review. 2 for first review, 1 is annual review, and 1 is deletion. So looking forward to that April 7th meeting to review all those. Trustees do not have any questions. Thank you, staff. And that means that we have to now see the date of the next meeting, which is April 7th, 2026. Since we have exhausted all the agenda items and no more questions are pending, this meeting is called to adjourn. Thank you very much for your presence. Thank you. Good night.